sex is, well, nobody knows. But the Saw is family.
Having a film truly change the landscape of your genre is not something that happens often. It may happen in once every 3 generations or so. Director Tobe Hooper absolutely crashed through the walls of the horror landscape with a film that to this day causes people's hairs to stand at attention. Grimy, sweaty, dirty, bleak, and organic in nature, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre became beyond legendary even in the genre that already had heavy hitters such as Psycho, Night of the Living Dead, and The Exorcist. There was no escaping Leatherface in what this film brought to viewers everywhere across the world. Growing up, I heard of the film, and the name alone struck terror inside of me. That terror maybe bubbled inside of Tobe Hooper as well, because now was the time to make a sequel to a film that horrified countless viewers. The question is, would they be ready to follow Hooper's shocking vision of what comes next, or will they lose their sanity like Sally Hardesty did in Part 1? Let's get down to brass tacks. In this Why You Hate video, I'm going to go over reasons why fans have issues with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, including 2 things that I know will be debated here in this community by the lovers and the detractors of it. I will also attempt, if at all possible, to show how these reasons might not hold as much weight as it seems. So get your DJ headphones, your Texas Ranger hat, a bowl of the contest-winning chili that doesn't skimp on the meat, and stay away from pickup trucks driving in reverse at night. Here are the reasons why you hate the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Number 1, the greatest cops of all time. Here's the thing, the events of the first movie happened, and there were multiple disappearances and deaths. You get the picture. Texas must truly have the greatest law enforcement of all time, because how in the hell can the Sawyer clan continue their murderous activities so easily, literally in broad daylight? The opening crawl truly illustrates how an official investigation only took 30 days. Supposedly, they couldn't find the Sawyers' farmhouse. What? How could you not find the house? Are you telling me that they couldn't find the place right next to where the truck driver picked up Sally in the first movie? The cops must have been more lost and disoriented than the 3 people in the Blair Witch Project.
I gave you back the map, Heather.
I gave you the map.
I gave you back the map.
Exactly where we were.
Not mad at me. Yesterday I asked you what fucking river we were on.
I'm gonna fucking stick your head in
Get this fucking camera off.
And then the case was basically thrown out just like that. It shows how the filmmakers had to find a way to keep the family away from the law. This was a ridiculous reason though, to be honest. It would have been more realistic if the officials found the house abandoned and couldn't specifically locate the family. At the end of the opening crawl, it says, quote, "But during the last 13 years, over and over again, reports of bizarre, grisly chainsaw mass murders have persisted all across the state of Texas. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre has not stopped." No shit. It haunts Texas. It seems to have no end. End quote. Instead of primarily catching the viewer up on the events in Texas and the family, it actually turns them into the stuff of legend and terror, as if they cannot be stopped no matter what. If the law could allow all of this violence to happen over 13 years, then how can anyone or anything stop them? Perhaps that's exactly what the aim was behind the crawl. Again, at this time in 1986, when the film was released, the slasher subgenre was at full speed, with several Friday the 13th films, Halloween films, and Nightmare on Elm Street films. Video stores across the country were the hunting ground for them by the fans, myself included. In any horror movie, you have to have a way for the antagonist to be able to do what they do without interference from the law, adults, and so forth. So this opening set up what this film would lean into: law enforcement ineptitude. Only Dennis Hopper's character of Lefty can find a way to take down the Chainsaw family. Number 2, Lord of the Harvest. Dennis Hopper portrays Texas Ranger Lefty Enright, who is the uncle of Sally and Franklin Hardesty from the original. He is on a mission. He views it as a mission from God, to find the killers and inflict righteous revenge. To say that this character is not only awesome, but damn ridiculously outlandish is putting it lightly. From his cowboy hat to his sermons that he gives and more, this character is way out there. Maybe the greatest yet cringe-inducing scene in horror is when Lefty goes to get chainsaws at the Cut Right Chainsaws. You see what they did there? He proceeds to do a dance, or is it like training from a Shaolin monk, with both saws swinging around while the store clerk is giddy with joy at the sight of a cowboy warrior becoming his final version. Did he really say, "Oh my aching banana"?
Oh, my aching banana. What?
Yeah, he did. The movie positions Lefty as the co-lead with Stretch. He agrees to work with her in trying to track down the killers and asks that she plays the tape of the call-in guys who were murdered in the beginning of the film. In essence, he's using her as possible bait, hoping that the tape will root out the Sawyers. This is a flawed plan, to say the least. Leatherface and Chop Top come to the radio station at night. This is a very big scene in the film because it's really the first time that we see these characters interact and get a sense of how they'll be characterized versus the original. Chop Top is played by Bill Moseley and is the twin brother of the hitchhiker from the original. Moseley is definitely in rare form as an over-the-top lunatic with violent tendencies. Radio station helper LG returns from a food run and gets blindsided by the brothers, and Chop Top attacks him with a hammer over and over, hitting him in the head repeatedly. The fact that LG is hit in the head with a hammer 100 times and still lives is hilarious. Again, Hooper is head over heels in the pool of outlandishness. Chop Top throws out so many comedic lines that you really start to forget that he's supposed to be the villain. Fun fact, Bill Moseley has had a great career in film and especially horror. He actually got this role after making a parody short film called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The story goes that he was trying to get on Saturday Night Live and did the funny spoof. Someone got the tape to Tobe Hooper, and Hooper found it hilarious and loved the way Moseley portrayed the character of the hitchhiker in it. Hooper kept Moseley in mind if he ever got to doing a sequel, and when the opportunity came to do it, Bill was offered the job. But back to the radio station beatdown. Leatherface is soon tasked with killing Stretch, and let's just say that he finds it really hard to do. Number 3. Second-rate Leatherface. The iconic character who was the face, pun absolutely intended, of the original film has been portrayed in several different ways. From film to film, there are big variations. This is in part also because the character has his own variations, specifically the different masks that he wears. We saw his 3 different faces or personalities in the original. In the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, we see another variation of the iconic horror character. This Leatherface is more violent, but many also see this as a sillier portrayal.
Slap me fire.
And you blew it! You blew it.
Right from the beginning of the film, where he's doing a dance on the back of the truck with the corpse of his dead brother, the hitchhiker, you get a sense of what we are in store for. The mask is a stark contrast from the original. Horror wizard Tom Savini was tasked with making a mask that was more organic and put together, with faces stitched together versus what Hooper called the papier-mâché-like mask in the first film. Bill Johnson portrays Leatherface instead of Gunnar Hansen, who did not return basically because of pay disagreements. This Leatherface goes after Stretch in the station attack, and immediately you see that he becomes sexually infatuated with her. The Saw soda can scene is in your face literally with the sexual overtones. Hooper was aware of how the chainsaw could be Leatherface's sexual instrument, just as other killers like Michael Myers uses a knife. Caroline Williams was aware of the innuendos of the scene and actually felt that her character of Stretch was showing strength and not just fear, as she realized how she could manipulate Leatherface and use his desire for her as an escape from certain death.
Real good. You're really good.
This is a plot point that is used again later in the film. Hooper says that for Leatherface, he is confused by these sexual feelings and doesn't necessarily know what to do with them. And so he lashes out with the saw at the cans that spray all over Stretch as she screams. And by the way, Caroline Williams' screams are legendary, just saying. As the cans spray and release all over her, Leatherface also releases his feelings by destroying the booth and furniture around him. The music in this scene is very tense and maybe some of the best in the entire film. Although the scene can be viewed as heavy, Hooper once again brings us back into humor. When Leatherface is about to leave the room he and Stretch are in, he jabs the saw in the air towards her with multiple thrusts. Even Stretch finds the moment is cringe. Like Drayton says later in the movie, the choice is sex or the saw. Sex is, well, we don't know, but the saw is family.
Secret, it's the meat. Don't skimp on the meat.
Mission accomplished, TCM2. Mission accomplished. Number 4. Comedy. Tobe Hooper was frustrated that viewers didn't see the dark humor of the original and decided to lean heavily into comedy for the sequel. It was spread throughout the entire film and all of the characters involved. It was as if Hooper wanted to show Texas and its natives in a light that showed how out of touch they were.
And you blew it! You blew it!
It satirized yuppie greed, whereas the original showed the plight of blue-collar workers and families laid off of work. The truth of the matter, though, is that Tobe Hooper was moving forward with the times. He saw the 80s as bombastic and full of excess. The characters in the film were a reflection of that, as well as the horror landscape at the time. He saw the writing on the wall with films such as Halloween, Friday the 13th, and countless others. The violence that was more cerebral in nature for the first film had to be in your face for what the filmmakers on the set called Saw 2. Tobe Hooper noticed what the audiences gravitated to and knew that in-your-face horror was what the people wanted and liked. The blood and gore had to be not only increased, but wrapped up in the dark humor that he was guiding this movie with.
Oh, my banana.
Number 5. The finale. The craziness continues all throughout until the very end of the film with the finale. It is an elongated finale that is well over 40 minutes long. The stronghold for the family is an old Texas Battleland amusement park, which is underground, meant to parallel the house in the original and twisted until you almost forget about it. Although this provides an interesting location with plenty of places to run, hide, and kill, you have to wonder how they have never been outed by anyone, including the law. But forget about that. The park setting leans into the comedic flair that Hooper wanted and gives you such memorable visuals. As the viewer, you actually want to explore this place and see what horrors lurk around the next corner. Stretch follows Chop Top and Leatherface to the park, and Lefty follows Stretch because, again, he was using her as bait at the station. She falls through a trap door, of course it's a trap door, into the underground lair and is taken hostage. There are plenty of gory and funny moments.
You gotta run for that money now. Chase that dollar. Gotta go fast to catch it. You
Don't baboons or don't even feel.
Including the fact that LG is still alive after the horrendous beating at the station getting his skin of his face and body sliced off as well. And what would a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film be without the dinner scene? Stretch is the invited guest, and of course the menu has nothing but terror and mayhem. Lefty starts spitting religious right rhetoric and proclaiming that he is the hand of justice, vengeance reincarnated, the Lord of the harvest, you get the point.
That's the stupidest fucking thing I ever heard.
He's a badass with chainsaws that's ready to throw down with some maniacs. Speaking of throwing down, we get an actual fun yet ludicrous chainsaw battle between Lefty and Leatherface, which is really the undoing of the family. If you had to go through all of this, how could you not go crazy? And that's exactly what happens to Stretch, chased by Chop Top until she literally becomes a chainsaw-wielding maniac of her own. The ending has her dancing just like Leatherface did in the original. The circle is now complete. At the end of the day, TCM2 happened, and we as fans deal with it in our own way. Is the comedy a plus, with the frenetic energy rarely seen or mastered in horror? Or is it an abomination to the memory and legacy of the first film? You must decide for yourself. But as always, this video is not here to make you love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. It's simply a discussion to highlight the history and aspects of it with horror fans. So what do you think? Are you a fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2? If so, tell us why. If not, let's discuss why you hate the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. If you haven't hit the like button for more content, please do. If you're not subbed to the Nightwatch Zone, this is the time to do it. Do it and become part of this fantastic movie community where you'll never love and talk about movies the same. If you like this video, check out some of my other Why You Hate videos and other content here, and I'll see you there. As always, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Nightwatch. Peace.